I'm Aaron.
And I'm Josh.
And today we're going to be reviewing Switchblade Romance.
The French New Wave Extremity horror film by Alexandre Aja. Just to start off with, I have to admit, I did quite like it.
I also liked it. I personally didn't like the ending, but the rest of it I actually thought was really good. As slash films go, thought it was above the likes of most of the sequels to things like Friday the 13th, which I did actually like a lot. But this is beautifully filmed. It's not a pretty film in terms of the violent content, but in terms of cinematography, it's phenomenal.
It's so actually one thing which I really noticed was that it's so much better than all of his later films, such as The Hills Have Eyes and Mirrors. Switchblade Romance is I personally think it looks so much better and generally is just a lot better than his later films.
Yeah, bearing in mind it's his debut, I personally generally think debuts are sometimes the best films because the director will spend so much time working on them.
Yeah, I must admit Neil Marshall's Dog Soldiers, his debut. James Wan's Thor, another debut.
Yeah, Switchblade Romance, although I didn't like the ending, I'd say it stands up there with some of the best in horror. It was one of the first French films I'd seen quite like this. There's quite a few.
Martyrs, Frontiers, Inside.
Yeah, The Ordeal. All of which feature brutal themes and don't hold back on the violence, the sex, or anything really.
The original title for the film translates as High Tension, and I think even in America it's still called High Tension, which pretty much sums up the movie really well.
You're always on the edge of your seat.
Yeah, it constantly is it's just so tense, and there are very few scenes which actually make you relax at all. I feel as though Switchblade Romance is possibly a rather melodramatic title.
I would differ with you. I personally like the title Switchblade Romance because the way in which it's filmed, it does, at some points feel semi like a ballet or some theatrical production.
Very theatrical, yeah.
The lighting, the colours, the performances and the interaction, it feels like a theatrical production. And I like the title Switchblade Romance because for me it just feels more like that. Must say, as we've commented in our previous reviews for lots of the giant creature films and the sort of bad B-movies, they all feature bad subtitles. I must say this features a bad subtitle.
Bad taglines.
This one's is Hearts Will Bleed. Not that bad, but it's something that just isn't needed.
It's just cheesy and it doesn't really reflect the film.
The cover is, well, I don't know if I like it because
it's quite misleading.
Yeah, it's a slasher film with very little slashing.
Yeah, the plot is quite simple. I mean,
girl goes to friend's house, killer comes, girls run away from said killer.
Yeah.
But it's done really well. The tension, it's brilliant up until the end for me. But yeah, the opening hour is among the best in sort of horror that I've seen, at least.
I enjoyed the main girl's performance. I can't remember her name.
Cécile de France.
Possibly. I enjoyed her performance, and I enjoyed Vincent Cassel.
Yeah, who's always brilliant.
Yep, who's become a star in his own right.
But yeah, it's well worth watching. And well worth picking up on English DVD, mainly because the extras are pretty good. You've got a commentary by the director and a really, really good making of documentary, which just, as making of documentaries go, I don't always watch them, but this one kept me hooked just because I wanted to know essentially how it was filmed so well by essentially a debut director. But yeah, well worth picking up, and it's not that expensive nowadays. A lot better than is American films.
Oh yeah.
Hills of Eyes, quickly, I didn't think was that bad. Mirrors I thought was abysmal, even though it had Keith Solondon in, who I thought was brilliant in things like Lost Boys and Young Guns. But yeah, Switchblade Romance, well worth picking up.
Pick it up wherever you can.